Feel free to let me know if you can hear me. Oh, there's my mic. Okay. Let's try that again. All right, that's a rusty start. But what's up and welcome to another live stream, folks. We've got a lot to cover from week 11, and I cannot wait to get to all of it because the importance of this research we're doing here just keeps increasing with the playoffs on the horizon. If you are new to the channel, make sure you start off strong by subscribing and asking me a question about your fantasy situation, and we will do a deep dive. I also want to just check off the laundry list here and say, check out our merchandise. It's some pretty cool stuff. There's a link to our Armchair Fantasy Football store in the description, along with a link to our Discord. So if you want rapid answers from me, real-time answers, join that for research and channel updates. So again, Discord link is in the bio. MA Football guys in there. Somebody who's already gotten some of the merch. I appreciate you. Welcome to the stream. Of course, folks, ask any fantasy football related questions you have, and I will get to them between segments here. All right, the research we're doing in fantasy football is only magnifying in importance as we inch closer and closer to your fantasy playoffs. In learning lessons through the first 11 or so weeks, one very important thing we need to acknowledge is who we were just flat out wrong about. Which expectations fell on their face. These players flipped a complete 180 on us, and I'm not afraid to admit it. Here we go. Russell Wilson. I don't know if there's another name in fantasy football or in the NFL that had a greater negative connotation to it like Russell Wilson did. Coming out of last year, he goes to the Mile High City going into the 2022 season. And don't get me wrong, he looked like straight garbage. We saw career lows across the board for him. Memes were dropping from the sky. Justin Tucker was clowning him for doing lunges on a plane on the way to a game. But let's just stick to the facts here about Russ, all right? Not only is Russ breaking out this year in 2023, 19 passing touchdowns, 4 interceptions, one of the best touchdown-interception ratios we've seen this year, and overall just one of the more productive quarterbacks in the market. But Russ is 11 for 12. What do I mean like that? What do I mean by that? He's had 11 great, solid, or better seasons in the NFL than most to just one horrible one. And all right, it was bad, but that's better than 90%. I mean, the man is leading his team on game-winning drives. We just saw it yesterday. The guy is on pace for over 30 passing touchdowns this season, which would double his total from 2022. And for us now, Russell Wilson is worth more than he was 2 months ago. Way more than he was 2 months ago as a fantasy quarterback. If you have this guy in Dynasty Fantasy Football, one of two things happen for you. He's surpassed the other quarterbacks on your roster in productivity, or he is an elite backup for you. If you've got Josh Allen, if you've got Jalen Hurts, if you've got Patrick Mahomes. Take advantage of this surplus of value and move on if you'd like, but history shows Russ is very reliable. 11 for 12, not too shabby. CJ Stroud's up next. In a world where people constantly complain about how we need to cut down on these meaningless preseason games, we all made sure to criticize CJ Stroud on just how horrible his preseason performances were. The man was being declared a bust from the very beginning. The Ohio State curse was going to come and grab another victim, being Stroud. Yeah, that's not happening, at least so far. Stroud is the volume king of the NFL right now. He's slinging it with the best when you look at overall passing yards on the season and passing yards per game. And in my opinion, he's one of the safest options you could get out there right now. When I see a spread this wide for a team like the Texans in the situation that Stroud's in right now, that tells me that CJ Stroud is completely fine if Nico Collins goes down for a game or if Tank Dell goes down for a game. Because he's got 4 other options, and that's happened, by the way. He's got 4 other options that he is comfortable throwing to and has thrown to on a consistent basis. He's getting reps in with a lot of different personnel. This is a high-flying offense in Houston. Stroud looks confident, and we should be ashamed of ourselves for judging him so harshly. I do say we. I'm included in this. You can go on this channel, go back to my preseason quarterback rankings from about 3 months ago. I put the man dead last, 32nd. Jaylen Warren's next. This can be exclusive to Week 11, but it also really shouldn't be. Jaylen Warren, from an efficiency perspective, is far and away the better back on this team over Najee Harris. That's not a secret anymore. Going into this year, I was insisting that a lot of you should be Jaylen Warren buyers. Go get his stock while the value is fair. I wasn't talking about him like he was primed for a crazy year, though. I was not expecting this. If you went out and you got Jaylen Warren early on or, on a late pick in the draft, he was probably a later grab that ended up being your RB4 or 5. That's exactly what he was valued at. That's just not the case anymore. Now, here's my pitch to keep this guy or find a way to go get him if he's not on your team right now. I see his value only getting better, all right? I see this guy only rising in stock, so actually his value is going to get worse. I mixed that up a little bit. Let's look over the environment he's in. The Steelers' offense is horrible. Kenny Pickett is struggling to throw the ball with any type of effectiveness past the sticks. The Steelers have been outgained by so many of their opponents this year. The offense in general is really hard to look at. But guess what else? along with the lack of volume competition, this is a winning football team. Not only is the volume competition, specifically in the passing game, not much of a threat at all. Matter of fact, I'd declare it dead. But when the final minutes roll around in most games, Pittsburgh is the team trying to run the clock out. And that's where Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris get their touches. That gives Warren more chances, though, in general. Now, if you're trying to buy him, I would argue you can still get Jaylen Warren at a decent price because for somebody who's averaging 6.2 yards per carry, he's not being treated like it. The Steelers still gave Najee Harris more touches than Jaylen Warren this week, despite the fact he was vastly outperformed, and the two are essentially being used evenly at the moment. While that's happening, go in and get him if you're in Dynasty. Aaron Jones is next. This one hurts. I want to say first and foremost that I will stand by my claim from the beginning of the year. A healthy Aaron Jones thrives on volume and is the volume king of this Packers offense. Love is in his first year as a starter. There is no Green Bay wide receiver significantly older than me, and for those of you wondering, I am 22 years old. Luke Musgrave, he's a rookie. Until a game against the worst passing offense in the league and the Chargers happened, Green Bay was significantly struggling to push the ball vertically. If only they had a veteran, receiving-oriented running back who could ease the stress with some high percentage throws, checkdowns, and breakout runs. Yet that's Aaron Jones. That's what Aaron Jones has been his entire career since he took over the starting job. And we saw exactly what I expected from him this whole year in week 1 against the Bears. Then he tweaked the hamstring. Since then, it's been injury, lack of usage, probably due to injury, and more injury. Yeah, it's frustrating, but we can't really control the guy's health. And now I'll go to Kadarius Toney as we go out to the wide receivers. This one just made too much sense for me coming in, and I am going to fully admit that it fell on its face. The expectations were not what I thought they were going to. Kadarius Toney let us down. Okay, I will just be as simple as that. I, along with many others, felt that Kadarius Toney had the ceiling of having around a 1,000-yard season. Juju Smith-Schuster leaves, and it's just Travis Kelce and whoever else wants to become the favorite for one of the best quarterbacks to ever live in Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, well, the depth chart said that was going to be Kadarius Toney, that he was supposed to be the secondary option. The open field speed said that was Kadarius Toney. Well, drop issues and more injuries, of course, failed us. Instead, it has been Rashid Rice and a cast of other people, Watson as well, competing and taking out Toney as that secondary option. Also, instead of giving somebody that second dominant force in the receiving game, instead of having somebody be that second dominant force in the receiving game, the Chiefs have dialed it back, and they're actually relying on the run a little bit more, so we're seeing, obviously, Isaiah Pacheco do phenomenal relative to his expectations. And we'll wrap up with Quinton Johnston. It's pretty early to make a full report on Quinton Johnston, but that fourth quarter drop he had against the Packers, in my opinion, very accurately summarizes his season so far. A first-round draft pick for another volume thrower like Justin Herbert, one of the better QBs in the league, especially fantasy-friendly-wise. And what happens? He only gets more opportunity as the weeks have gone on. Mike Williams goes down first couple weeks of the season. He's out for the year. Joshua Palmer goes down a few weeks ago. He's on the IR. Austin Eckler, who had north of 100 targets a season ago, goes down, and he still looks hurt. Well, that tells me in a Kellen Moore-led offense that a receiving back probably is going to do that tells me that in a Kellen Moore-led offense that a rookie first-round wide receiver is going to do pretty well. Well, I apologize, folks. Even I was saying go and grab him a couple of weeks ago because the stars were just aligning for something good to happen for this great prospect out of college. The book's not written on him yet, but I really thought Quinton Johnston would have been, honestly, a top 25, top 30 action a top 25, top 30 option with, obviously, two of the better and more prominent receivers on this offense going down. I apologize. I was very wrong on that. All right, so now delightful surprises that we somewhat saw coming, and then I'll get to your questions. Good to see all of you here tonight. Jackson Smith and Jigba. I was very curious here. We have more usage as of late. Obviously, we have Tyler Lockett being another year older. There's dynasty upside there when we talk about somebody who's 31 years old, slot receiver. Smith and Jigba would pretty much come in and replace him, essentially. And we got a game-winning catch from him a couple of weeks ago, and since then, we've seen him actually lead this team in targets on one or two occasions. Jahmyr Gibbs is another one. This is someone a lot of fantasy experts on YouTube were telling you to chill out about. When you have efficiency like you have from a first-round pick in Jahmyr Gibbs, it's the opposite of Quinton Johnston, right? Jahmyr Gibbs was not being given opportunity. Johnston was. And Jahmyr Gibbs was performing very well. Johnston was not. Look, this is an 8-2 team. David Montgomery went down. That really opened the floodgates for Jahmyr Gibbs' opportunity. On an 8-2 team, I'm sorry, the game script just makes way too much sense to love Jahmyr Gibbs long-term. This is a winning team under Dan Campbell. The NFC North is putrid without the Lions right now. You have the Bears competing for a first overall pick again. They might just do it by themselves, to be honest. The Packers trying to adapt with Jordan Love, and the Vikings, what's going to happen without Kirk next year? I mean, they're the one team that might be able to compete with the Lions, right? But Jahmyr Gibbs pass catching back, very efficient on the ground, winning team. I like a lot of things here. And the next one I'm really proud about, Adam Thielen. Roll back the tape. Go to a video earlier this year. We said at the beginning of the year that a wide receiver one on a bad offense makes way too much sense. And a bad team makes way too much sense because you're going to be working from behind and throwing the ball a metric ton. The narrative only grew for me with Adam Thielen catching Bryce Young's first completion and touchdown in preseason. Said earlier, don't worry about preseason. But when you have a rookie quarterback trying to find his bearings in the NFL, drowning essentially, looking for any type of answer on an offense that lacks a ton of talent, yeah, I like Adam Thielen. He has cooled off a bit last couple of weeks, but most would be straight up lying to themselves and everybody else if they said, yeah, Thielen's going to have a 1,000-yard season. He's on pace for it right now. Other headlines I just want to cover for you guys, and then it's time for me to get to your questions, the most important part of this video. Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley just exploded. My takeaways from this, Trevor Lawrence, obviously generational talent, coming out of high school, going into college, was nearly perfect at Clemson. Calvin Ridley, I don't love as much because we still have a team that outside of last week wasn't pushing the ball vertically with confidence. Now, what happened this week, Corey? They faced one of the worst secondaries in the league in the Titans. I mean, they were not afraid at all to push the ball down the field. Another headline I want to cover, Jerome Ford stock makes way too much sense to buy in right now. This is not an exciting offense in the Browns. QB's gone. A lot of people are saying the season's over for the Browns. I'm sorry, was Deshaun Watson really doing a whole lot? DTR's in. He comes in. They grind out the win. We saw this offense with PJ Walker when Deshaun went down the first time. They became one of the most run-heavy teams in the NFL, and they already were, but they started running it even more often. Buy your Jerome Ford stock right now in deeper leagues where that's a bit too expensive for you and you don't want to throw a package together for one of the, in my opinion, more smart options at running back down the stretch. Go get Kareem Hunt. He should still get his touches. It's not going to be as much, but this is going to be one of the most run-heavy teams in football. All right, and what am I looking for tonight? Thought I would just focus on the Monday night game. Big performances from Mahomes, from Kelsey, and from Rashid Rice against an Eagles secondary that is giving up the most amount of fantasy points to receivers. Very, very excited to see this game go down. Obviously, the Super Bowl rematch. I think there's a lot to like here, to say the very least. Let's get to these questions now. All right. Oh, we've got a lot of you in here. Holy cow. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So I will get the chat up here. Thank you all for joining me here on this Monday night. I am going to work on establishing a weekly streaming schedule. There's no way on earth it's going to be the same schedule every week, but I'm going to do the best I can to update you in the Discord, link in description, join that, or on my community posts. I work for a radio/TV station. I cover a lot of sports. I go call games as play-by-play. I'm doing stuff on the side. I do not have the same schedule every week, but I will try my best, like on a day like today, like Monday. I'm going to try and map out my week for you so that at least you have an idea, somewhat, of what's going to be going on for the week. So I will work on that. Get your comments up here. All right. So we've got Aura in here. Says hello. Hello, Aura. We've got MA Football Guys saying, I played Eckler and Brees over Gibbs, Warren, and Edwards. They fared far worse, and I'm still on track to win 9-2. That's how you know you got a solid team. You fall on your face with certain expectations, or maybe advice I gave you, and you still win. So good stuff, MA Football Guy. Aura says, I'm currently 6-5 in a full PPR, one quarterback league. I had Burrow. I don't know what to do moving forward. Do I trade, or do I start Jake Browning, Mayfield, or Stafford? Week 12. Let's look ahead to week 12. Out of those names, I'm most confident with Baker Mayfield, considering the 1-2 punch he has out wide with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. We have Mayfield against the Colts. That's actually a decent matchup against that secondary. Stafford, Kupp went down. Got to keep an eye on his injury, and I'll be doing that throughout the week. Against the Cardinals, that's actually a team that stands up a little bit better on its feet now that Kyler Murray is on the team and they can hold the ball a little bit more. No shame at all to Joshua Dobbs. Look at what he's doing, right? Or here's what I do. Out of those names, I'm not trusting Jake Browning. We've seen little to nothing from him, right? What I am going to do is suggest that you go out and look for, and you're probably going to have to buy via a trade. Go get Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs has one of the easiest remaining schedules in the league. He's got a lot of rushing upside, and guess what? He's going to get the best receiver in the game back pretty soon in Justin Jefferson, all right? That's what I would say we do. So let's go and get either Baker Mayfield or Josh Dobbs. You're 6-5, so you're probably in around that last playoff spot, if not, in position to grab a playoff spot. I say we go and do that. Folks, already at 9 likes on the stream. Thank you so much. If you're just jumping in, make sure you leave another like. And most importantly, compile your comments in the live chat. All right, Aura, so I am going Mayfield out of those 3. Otherwise, if you have some trade leverage, if you have a surplus of talent at a certain position, you got 5 great wide receivers, try and go and get Joshua Dobbs. All right, Hey Animal says Love is worse on pressured throws. Yeah, Jordan Love is... He's a project. This is somebody who's still about 10, 11, 12 games into his career, and he just played one of the worst passing defenses in the league. So people saying Love is him need to temper their expectations. But I'm also not a Jordan Love hater, and I'm a Bears fan, so that's saying a lot. I know, very big of me. He doesn't have any help. Jaden Reed, I would say, is their wide receiver 1 right now. Romeo Doubs maybe has an argument for that as well. It sure as heck is not Christian Watson. Yeah, Love, under pressure, not the best. We're seeing him fall all over. We're seeing a lot of things that we don't really like. Under pressure is not his forte. W, thoughts on Keaton Mitchell going forward? Pray, in a 12-team or larger league, I'm interested. Because we had Harbaugh straight up come out before the Thursday night game and say, this guy's going to get more touches. Now, when we have a coach making the effort to come out and tell, obviously not us fantasy owners, but us football fans and the media in general, that a guy's going to get more touches, unless it's Dan Campbell with the Jahmyr Gibbs situation, it's going to happen, right? Jokes. But I think Keaton Mitchell's an interesting pickup on a 12-team, 14-team, double flex, super flex. If you have anything with a smaller availability pool, let me know if that makes sense, than 12-team standard league, just one flex. If there's anything below that, so 10-team, double flex, 10-team, standard flex, I don't want Keaton Mitchell because I think Gus Edwards is still going to get a majority of the touches. But what I will say is, in all honesty, I would want him in a deeper league, just in case, especially Dynasty. All right, MA Football Guy says 7-3, about to go 7-4 in my Justin Jefferson league. What should I do about Hollywood Brown? He's let me down most times I've played him. It looks like Kyler Murray is looking for Trey McBride a little bit more than I thought. Ayuk and Thielen have done me well, though. Now, Adam Thielen I would expect to cool off a little bit just because he is the definitive option. If he's going up against a good corner, that's what's going to happen. Obviously, going to get pressed up by them. You could even see double coverage. I don't see a lot of teams doubling up a receiver on the Panthers. You can get away with playing that team straight up pretty easily. I would package Ayuk and somebody or Brown and somebody and go and get yourself a more reliable receiving option. If Higgins is back pretty soon, I don't hate that. That's a good buy low option. Scratch that. They don't have Joe Burrow anymore. Jordan Addison could be interesting. Understand he's going to have a bit of a drop-off in production with Mr. Justin Jefferson coming back. There are some other candidates. If you really want to swing for a home run, you can go and get DJ Moore, but that's going to take probably Thielen and Brown, and you're really going to need some help there to get that done. I would say out of those two, I'm ditching Thielen. I do think the fact that Kyler and Hollywood Brown were college teammates holds some merit. So yeah, I would go with that. We're going to go to, there's MA Football Guy and Prey just saying what's up to each other. MA Football Guy says, Corey, I might take Reed in a second league. He did well for me this week. I mean, why not? The competition, the volume competition is almost non-existent. It's wide open. Aaron Jones goes down. Emmanuel Wilson goes down. So it's essentially A.J. Dillon and maybe a practice squad fullback. I know the Packers had James Robinson on their practice squad. Yeah, somebody who went from being a 1,000-yard rusher to being a practice squad player for the Packers. Talk about falling off. I don't really know. But what I will say is Jaden Reed doesn't have a whole lot of volume competition. So I'm okay with that pickup. They got him involved in a couple jet sweeps. He was actually the Packers' leading rusher this past week because of the injuries. But with Christian Watson not being 100% pretty much this whole year and just not producing a whole lot, not fighting for balls in the air, Jaden Reed's looked great. I think, in my mind, Jaden Reed is the wide receiver one on this team right now. He's leading them in receiving yards. It's him or Dobbs. So I'm okay with it. That team's going to be going up against some tough matchups in the next couple of weeks. It's the Lions and then the Chiefs. But on the other side of the coin, you could argue, yeah, the Packers are going to get blown out, and it turns into a pass-heavy scheme. TS is in here, says, hey, how's it going? Lamar's in here. What's up, Lamar? MA Football Guy saying, let's go. We've got everybody in here today. TS says, I dropped Fields for Purdy, and everyone thought I was crazy. Fields looked good, but I can't trust him. I really like Purdy's rest of season schedule. And folks, take after TS here. That's what you have to do, especially if you're anywhere from, I would say, 5-6 to undefeated. when you know or have a pretty good idea that playoffs are going to be in your future, you need to look at weeks 14, 15, and 16, or whenever your playoffs are, 17, right? And you need to ask yourselves, who is going to have a good matchup here? And if your trade deadline hasn't happened, or if you don't have a trade deadline in your league, I know mine was this past week, go and get players with good rest of season schedules, because your playoffs are on the way. Go and get Brock Purdy. Go and get Joshua Dobbs if you're in a pinch. Go and get guys you can go on Fantasy Pros. I'll show you after I get through all of these questions here in a second. Go to Fantasy Pros and find out who has the easiest schedule at a certain position and go get them, because their value is probably a lot better than the owner realizes. There are not a lot of people looking up rest of season schedules. There's people going, I'm going to take it week by week. I want to make sure I score good. I want to look at my projections. That's not what we do here. Go and look ahead at their rest of season schedule. It is phenomenal. I love that pickup. All right, TS 8-3 after this week. Heck yeah, you are. When you're doing research like that. Aura says, thanks for advice. No problem. MA Football Guy says, I'm about to go 6-5 in my Purdy league. And Lamar says, should I drop Aaron Jones for Cortland Sutton? I would assume, Lamar, that your league is PPR. I mean, regardless, it doesn't really matter here. I'm going after Cortland Sutton. I was on the train early on of saying Cortland Sutton, it has a unsustainable touchdown amount, right? Well, all of a sudden, Russ is on pace to throw north of 30 touchdowns. So maybe I should have just shut my mouth, because in all honesty, Cortland Sutton, the primary target. Jerry Jeudy's been all right, but the offense running under Sean Payton and the offense running with Russell Wilson, it looks great. So I would go Cortland Sutton. Aaron Jones, who asked that? Lamar, Aaron Jones, even when he's played this year, is not getting a lot of usage. I honestly don't think he has been 100% healthy since week 1. It's been hamstring. It's been something else. Now, the knee bent's a really weird way. I don't know how long he's going to be out for. They're saying not long-term, but, I mean, that's up to your discretion and how much you want to risk with that. I'm definitely taking Cortland Sutton in my opinion, a pretty good offense right now. Yeah, I would take Cortland Sutton right now. No doubt about it. Better offense, in my opinion. Pretty good usage. I have no problem, no qualms with taking Cortland Sutton. Okay. And then we have TS saying, I used Purdy over Sam Howell last minute this week. Oh, I mean, Howell didn't do bad, but Purdy exploded. Glad I did. Also, I benched Kenneth Walker for Puka in the flex. Only bad move was playing Achane in my other league, but still won. Achane, man, I don't want to say things too early, but smaller running back. We've seen a multitude of injuries pretty early on. I'm not too excited about Devon Achane. It's kind of hard to watch when you have someone who, it's kind of like Raheem Mostert. Very efficient. Track star. I don't know if Mostert was a track star, but blistering speed is my point. We saw this in the 49ers, and they're just injury prone. It's not pretty. It's not something I love. And all of a sudden, it becomes a risk you take. Do I really want to go get somebody who, yes, has a lot of efficiency, but I'm not even sure they can stay on the field? Not to mention the volume competition. It's a prominent passing game in Miami. You've got Tyreek Hill. You've got Jalen Waddle. You've got Braxton Berrios in there. All right. But you also have Jeff Wilson Jr. who just came back. You've got Raheem Mostert when he's available. You've got Ahmed. I mean, you have a lot of talent on that team. And you really have to wonder, is this person going to be primary? I don't know. All right. So we've also got... But yeah, Achane's a tough move. A lot of people brought him back. I brought him back in one of my teams, and early injuries is the worst thing about fantasy, because if someone is in for one snap and goes down or gets yanked, you can't do anything about it. It's permanent. It's written up. It is on to the next week, and you better hope you have better luck then. You cannot go back and change it. It's irreversible. I can't think of any other synonyms, but it's tough. All right. MA Football Guy says, I have played Purdy over Tua in several games and won. I swapped out Fields for him too. Brock Purdy's in a great situation. And I was telling people a couple weeks ago, go and start Brock Purdy. Go and get Brock Purdy on your team, because everyone's hating on the Niners right now when they lost 3 in a row. That's been gone. And he has one of the easiest remaining schedules. Rest of season schedule. That's what we have to focus on here down the stretch, folks. Unless you are, even if you are 10-0, 11-0 right now, you want to win your playoff games. I mean, it's not like in certain formats you might get a bye. It's not like you're guaranteed points unless you're in one of those formats too. You need people who are in good situations come playoff time. And Brock Purdy not only is doing well now and is in good situations now, he has a very easy and manageable and fantasy football friendly at the quarterback position remaining schedule, specifically in the playoffs. So I love that a lot. Yuddle's in here. I think it's my first time seeing you here. Welcome to the stream, Yuddle. Glad that you're coming in asking questions. We've got Jalen Hurts, Austin Eckler, Travis Etienne, A.J. Brown, Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Dalton Kincaid, Devon Achane. Not a great week this week. Is it time to panic on anyone? Achane possibly. I mean, if he's somebody who needs to be a week in, week out starter, we got to be a little concerned about someone who's gone through a pair of injuries in the last month or so. Kincaid's going to see more usage, obviously, with Dalton Knox out, and we've seen that. Amon-Ra is one of the most consistent, reliable wide receiver options out there. I love Jalen Hurts. Austin Eckler looked a little hobbled up. He broke free and turned the corner on what I thought was going to be a touchdown against the Packers and seemingly blew a tire. Eckler's still relatively involved. Achane is the only name on there, Yuddle, that really worries me. I mean, you have someone who's at the top of their position in fantasy and Hurts. Same with A.J. Brown. Same with Diggs. Amon-Ra's top 10. Kincaid is rising. You've got an awesome team. And Etienne's had a couple of poor weeks. If you really wanted to go and get like a for sure answer and you're worried about someone who maybe won't perform well, I'd look at the backfield and say, what are the odds we can go out and get Joe Mixon? With Joe Burrow down, this team's probably going to rely more on their run game. Check downs to their reliable running back. That's what I would say for you, Yuddle. All right. Prey says Kareem Hunt or Keaton Mitchell this week. Looking ahead, Hunt against the Broncos, one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. Mitchell against the Chargers, also one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. I'm going to go Hunt. I think he still has a more prominent role on his offense in general. And he's kind of a touchdown machine. Smaller sample size with Mitchell, unless we see something that's like, he will be splitting reps with Gus Edwards in his 50-50. Then I'm interested. Otherwise, I'm not. MA Football Guy says, my lowest playoff chance is 29%. I may have to chat with you later, Corey. Yeah, no problem. MA Football Guy says the team is Purdy, Saquon, Travis Etienne, Devontae Adams, Brandon Cooks, Dalton Schultz, Jaden Reed, Pittsburgh defense, and Jake Elliott. Solid team across the board. And again, folks, if you are just stopping in, I'm Corey. This is Armchair Fantasy Football. Doing a little Week 11 reflection. We started off with people that we were dead wrong about, people that we ended up being pretty right about and are rising in stock. Some thoughts ahead of tonight's matchup, and now I'm just answering your questions. So if you're here, new to the channel, make sure you leave a like, make sure you subscribe. We're 6 subscribers away from 900. Feeling pretty good about that. Thanks to all of you. But most importantly, ask your questions in the chat. And folks, for the, I believe, 7 of you that are watching right now, there is a Discord link in the description. Highly recommend you join that. That's where you're going to get channel updates. I have a whole tab for start sit questions. So if I'm not on YouTube, which I usually am, you can go in there and ask me one-on-one. We can go in there and talk trades and kind of have a group ongoing discussion. Discord link is in the chat. Join the Armchair Army. I think that's what I named it. We've got a couple different tabs there. And main thing is you're going to get a lot of cool channel alerts there, and you'll know about things before I announce them to others. Free to join. Free to join. All right. So, MA Football Guide team is Purdy, Saquon. Saquon's going to be interesting. I just want him to stay healthy. That's a horrible offense. But, hey, Tommy DeVito looked good this last week, so who knows. Travis Etienne, couple of bad weeks, but feeling good about him still. Devontae Adams, monster touchdown this week. Brandon Cooks, bit of a stretch. All right, the secondary option on Dallas. He's had a couple of good weeks. Not the strongest sample size yet. I just need my desk, so sorry I shook the whole thing. Not the strongest sample size yet for somebody like Brandon Cooks, but I do think there's promise going forward. You have somebody in Dak who's just slinging it right now. There's a lot of attention on CeeDee Lamb, and if you look at Cooks the last few weeks, he does have more targets. I'd say he's a decent buy option. You might still be able to pick him up off the waivers or something, but with you having him on your team, I wouldn't hate also pawning him off. I would even feel better about I would even feel better about Jaden Reed over Cooks right now. I'm assuming that's your flex, so we're kind of going with both. But yeah, Cooks is the only worry for me just because we kind of have a small sample size. Still love the guy. Nothing personal. All right. Otherwise, Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is a phenomenal fantasy option because, again, he's in that high-flying offense. C.J. Stroud loves to spread the ball out. It's a pretty even distribution of usage. And at a position like tight end where consistent production's at a premium, I really think Dalton Schultz is a steal. Yuddle says, do you think that Etienne peaked weeks 5 to 8, or is he going to get back there hopefully for the playoffs? I think Etienne is going to be fine. I think he's had a couple of down weeks. He hasn't had as much pass-catching involvement as we've been looking for. But overall, Travis Etienne's on a winning football team. Yuddle, game script-wise, this is a team that's going to be up in a lot of games and is going to run it a lot down the stretch, trying to chew the clock down. So I'm okay with Travis Etienne. I think it's just a tough stretch. That's my opinion on that. I think he's going to be okay. I hope he's going to be okay. But yeah, I would say we're all right now. TS says, does Joe Mixon lose value with Burrow going down, or do they run it more, giving him more opportunities? You could throw a lot of hypotheticals out there. You could say now teams are going to predict that the Bengals are going to run more, and as a result, Mixon's going to get stuffed. I personally think that Mixon gets used a little more out of the passing game. I don't think this hurts him. I think it's either around the same or he gets more chances. What he does with those chances, I don't know, because how much confidence do we have in Jake Browning to push it vertically? If Jake Browning ends up being a stud, I think that's also great news for Joe Mixon. I think Mixon's in a win-win scenario. Either the Bengals suck and they have to rely on him, and later in games maybe he's not getting the touches because they have to throw the ball and they're down in the game. Or Jake Browning ends up being decent. The Bengals win a handful of games, maybe squeak into the playoffs, and in the process, Joe Mixon gets those chew-the-clock reps. TS, I think either way, Joe Mixon is at or above the production we saw before because we're losing an aspect of the passing game. And I don't know how confident the Bengals are going to be to say, yeah, Jake Browning, let's go throw the ball 40 times. It didn't happen with Tommy DeVito. You can pull a lot of different samples where it didn't happen with Tyson Bagent in Chicago. You could pull a lot of different examples around the league, and maybe there's an outlier somewhere where a textbook backup, I'm not talking about a journeyman who's been around and has been a starter before, like a Josh McCown, Gardner Minshew. When a textbook backup comes in and has to fill in on short notice, it's very seldom that you would see them throw the ball a ton. So I think usage goes up. I think it only makes sense for usage to go up. Yep. Whether it be on check down passes, which PPR, we love that, or more rushes. All right, folks, I want to do a quick review over what we talked about before. If you're just jumping in, I'm Corey. This is Armchair Fantasy Football, and we're doing our Week 11 Lessons Learned. Doing a live chat here, so if you've got any questions, feel free to leave one. Otherwise, make sure you like and subscribe. We're 6 subscribers away from 900. That is surreal. I have some people we were wrong about. Russell Wilson, CJ Stroud, Jaylen Warren. Those are guys that, in my opinion, we need to go and buy in on in Dynasty. CJ Stroud's going to be freaking expensive. Russell Wilson's going to be freaking expensive. Jaylen Warren is going to get more expensive, but right now he's not getting reps, so I think he's the best value out of those 3. But those are all ones that really proved a lot of people wrong, and proving us wrong in a bad way, meaning they were below our expectations. Aaron Jones, Kadarius Toney, and Quentin Johnston. Aaron Jones, I stand by this. A healthy Aaron Jones still thrives in that offense. He just hasn't been healthy. Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver 1 on the Chiefs depth chart coming into the season, really thought he'd perform well. Drop issues, injuries, yikes. Quentin Johnston, holy opportunities. Joshua Palmer, IR. Mike Williams, IR. Quentin Johnston, first round. Yeah, now all of a sudden, we think he's going to get this usage, and he just drops a wide open pass against the Packers. So, yeah, that's not fun. Favorite buy low candidates right now. Just got Achane this week before he got injured, looking to pawn him off since I obviously don't totally need him. Anybody I could package Achane for. James Cook has rustled some feathers the last few weeks. I don't think he's a great option. I do think his value's low. I do think it's lower than it should be. I do think the Bills, despite the tough remaining schedule, are still going to be in a position where they should run it more because you have the whole turnover controversy going on where Josh Allen just can't protect the ball. And you do have somebody in James Cook who went out and caught a touchdown and saw a decent amount of usage last week. He's on a winning football team, should get those chew-the-clock reps. I think James Cook's a good buy low option. I think Joe Mixon, depending on where you're looking, some people think his value went down because the quarterback's gone. I think it went up. You could go and try and get Joe Mixon, James Cook. Let me think of somebody else. I mean, Breece Hall, guys like that are blockbusters. Saquon's been great. CMC, yeah, untouchable. DeAndre Swift. I think Joe Mixon and James Cook are at about the same spot, and you're still going to be able to, they're affordable, right? You don't have to throw the kitchen sink to get them. Travis Etienne, honestly. I don't know if you have Etienne at the moment. I'm going to go back up and look. You do. Okay, you have Etienne. Yeah, I would say Mixon or Cook are not bad options. Anybody with an easy remaining schedule, really. But those guys in particular, in my opinion, are in high usage situations. All right, so that's kind of where I'm at on that. And then, folks, players that are delight surprises, in my opinion. that I think we kind of saw coming. Jackson Smith-Njigba, first-round receiver out of Ohio State, getting more usage, especially following the game-winning touchdown catch. Jahmyr Gibbs, he was always efficient. We just needed the window of opportunity to open, and it opened pretty wide once David Montgomery got hurt. And they look like a pretty sustainable duo right now. Montgomery is one, Yuddle. I think he's still going to get those red zone touches. You could go and get David Montgomery. You could even go and get Tony Pollard. He had a pretty good week this week, but he's had a lot of subpar weeks where he gets vultured at the end zone. He gets dropped at the 1, and somebody else gets the touchdown. And then, folks, other people we were right about, Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen's a crazy one. He was a late-round draft pick at the beginning of the year, but in my opinion, this made way too much sense and still makes way too much sense. He's a wide receiver one on a bad football team that has to go throw heavy down the stretch. He caught Bryce Young's first completion in preseason. He caught Bryce Young's first touchdown in preseason. Chemistry's there. Production's there. I love Thielen. And then other headlines, Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley exploded. I'm more of a fan of Lawrence sustainability-wise than I am Ridley because of the volume competition. Jerome Ford's stock makes way too much sense. What am I looking for tonight? Big performances from Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Rashee Rice against an Eagles secondary that gives up the most amount of fantasy points to wide receivers. TS says Kyron Williams will be back off IR this week. Thank goodness. Would you use him over Mixon or Swift? Swift, absolutely not. That's a running back in one of the most run-heavy teams in the league. And he's very efficient. Mixon, that's a toss-up. If we look at matchups, Mixon going against the Steelers front seven, not my favorite. Swift going against the Bills, who actually haven't been that great against the run. I would go, and then the Rams against the Cardinals. If we're taking Kyron over anybody, it's going to be Mixon, not Swift, and that's a coin toss right now. But we need to make sure he's 100%. If we get a declaration that Kyron is a full go, I'd be more confident about it. Yuddle says, concern for Diggs. His floor has been insane this year, but I can't help thinking while watching the Bills games that he just isn't involved in the offense, it appears. I think he is. I mean, he's got some of the most targets of anybody in the league right now. The Bills just don't look great, in my opinion. They don't look like they're supposed to be this Super Bowl contending team that we anticipated they would be. I don't know why my nose is itching so much. I'm not worried about Stephon Diggs at all. Like you said, the floor is absolutely insane. He is the primary target on a high-flying Bills offense. Even with the Josh Allen turnovers, that's one throw in a blue moon in the grand scheme of things. Stephon Diggs is getting looked at, and that's all we really care about. MA Football Guy says, I was so psyched for Justin Jefferson. Hasta la vista. Yeah. We need him to come back and perform. I mean, that's just about it. We don't know how he's going to do with Josh Dobbs. Dobbs has looked great. He's utilized Addison effectively, along with TJ Hawkinson. I'm ready for Justin Jefferson to come back and break out. And MA Football Guy, that kind of extends to another reason that I would say Josh Dobbs is a phenomenal pickup. If you can buy him or if you can get him off waivers, which he probably isn't available anymore, you need to go and get Josh Dobbs if you have a hole at quarterback. One of the easiest remaining schedules in the league. He's been performing well, has rushing upside, and now he's about to get the best receiver in the game back on his team, and he's going to throw to him for the first time in Justin Jefferson. But the Jefferson story in general, yeah, not my favorite. Not my favorite at all. I'm a heavy Justin Jefferson owner. Anytime I had first or second overall and I could get him, I did. Yeah. Folks, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. If you have any other questions, I need you to jump into the live chat or jump into the description, hit the Discord link, join the Discord, and drop your questions in there, and I'll help you out as soon as I possibly can. We're going to be more live stream based. I want to be able to get you guys real-time answers. Maybe we'll repurpose some content and turn them into some other videos with like more, I would say, distinct focuses. But I want to live stream more and get you immediate answers. That's why I started the Discord as well. As the fantasy playoffs get closer, I want to try and best serve you and get you answers quickly, as opposed to spending a couple days editing a video, putting said video out, and then not talking to you until Saturday. So by all means, feel free to join the Discord and ask any other questions you have in the comment section below. TS says, enjoy the game tonight, man. You as well. Super Bowl rematch? Yeah, I'm ready. All right, folks. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you in the next stream.